Hi, my name is Shanice, and I'm from a little town in Egypt. I never expected my life to become so crazy. Before I continue, like this video and subscribe to our channel. While growing up, I was an only child to an army dad and housewife. We moved around quite a lot because of Dad's job. When I was in 2nd grade, Mom left for the supermarket and never returned. But I always prayed she'd come back because a girl needs her mother. Then one day during summer vacation, all that changed because of her. Dad walked into the house with the brunette on his arm.
Shanice, I'd like you to meet my wife, Gabby.
Your what? Dad, how could you bring some stranger to live with us? Did you ever consider how I'd feel about this? I stormed to my bedroom and slammed the door. Over the next few days, Dad applied for permanent residence and enrolled me in some stupid preppy private school. I was stuck. I'd never been in a place for more than 6 months, and I felt my anxiety grow. This was all Gabby's fault, and I needed to get rid of her. One night, I snuck into their bedroom and changed the time of their alarm clock. This made Gabby late for an appointment meeting, and she lost a client. Another time, I placed a hair remover in Gabby's shampoo, and my favorite was adding dead worms to the top of Gabby's cake. The oven smelled like burning fat for days. Throughout all of this, Dad was forcing me to interact with Gabby through shopping sprees, spa days, and just for 2 lunches. Dad, I'm not interested in your wife. She will never replace Mom. After that, all Dad's attempts stopped. I had to put making Gabby's life a living hell on the back burner for a while and focus on more important things. School. On the first day of school, my silly locker was stuck. I banged on it and it flew back and slammed into my face. Ouch! I covered my face and felt it thump beneath my fingertips. Enraged, I slammed the locker shut and was startled to find a very cute boy staring back at me.
Hi, I'm Joe.
I'm Shanice.
I had this locker last year. All she needs is some tender love and affection. Don't you, Samantha?
You named your locker Samantha? Joe shook his head and then demonstrated how to open and close the locker so I wouldn't have any more unfortunate incidents. The bell rang.
What homeroom are you in?
Room 201.
Great, I'm heading the same way.
I sat at the back of the class and Joe sat a few rows ahead of me. I couldn't help but daydream about him during class. He was super cute. We weren't in all the same classes, but he'd say hi to me every time he saw me. That meant something, right? During dinner, Dad and Gabby pestered me about my first day. The doorbell rang and I sprung up from my seat to answer. Saved by the bell. I pulled open the door and froze.
Shanice?
Dad called.
Who's at the door?
I tried to speak, but I couldn't get the words out.
Shanice, who's by?
I stepped to the side so Dad could see.
Debbie, what are you doing here?
It was my mom.
I came to see Shanice. Shanice, go to your room.
I moved from the front door, but there was no way I was going to my room. I hid behind the wall and listened.
What are you doing here? I came to see my daughter. You need to leave. I have a right to see my daughter. You gave up that right 7 years ago when you walked out on her.
Dad slammed the door and locked it. Dad, what are you doing? You could have let her in. You found another wife, but that's the only mother I have. I stormed off, went to my bedroom, and locked the door. Shortly after, there was a knock on the door. Shanice, can I come in? No. I heard the door unlock and Gabby stepped into my room with a key in her hand. I know you didn't just unlock my door and walk in after I told you no. I just thought we could talk. What I want is to be left alone. I just want to make... I don't care what you want. I want you to get out of my room and leave me alone. You are not my mother. I don't need anything from you. Just then, Dad walked into my room and Gabby shook her head at him and held his arm. Dad glared at me and I placed my headphones in my ears, laid in bed, and turned to face the wall. Over the next few days, I avoided Dad and Gabby as much as possible. Gabby seemed uncomfortable, but I didn't care. She made me uncomfortable by marrying Dad. Did she ever consider that? What kind of woman marries a man without meeting his kid first? One afternoon during biology class, Joe and I were teamed together to work on a project.
How about we start the project at my house after school?
Fine by me. Joe's dad, Mr. Lewis, dropped us off at the house.
I'm going to pick up your mom and a couple of pizzas for you and Shanice. And Joe, no hanky-panky.
Mr. Lewis winked at us, then drove off, and Joe's face turned red, and I chuckled. Let's go inside. About 2 hours later, there was a knock on Joe's bedroom door, and a lady walked in with a box of pizza.
I hope you kids like pineapple on pizza.
Mom!
What are you doing here?
Before Mom could respond, I continued, Is this why you abandoned Dad and me? To come here and create your own little family? Is this what you've been doing all this time, playing Mom when I needed you? I grabbed my belongings and left Joe's house. As soon as I got home, I stormed into Dad's bedroom. Why did Mom leave?
Doesn't matter why Mom left. She's the past and Gabby is my present and future. Our future.
Dad, it matters to me. She's my mother. Gabby isn't. I'm not a baby anymore. If you don't want to tell me, then I'll ask her myself.
If you walk out of that door, don't bother coming back.
Is that the last thing you told Mom? I arrived at Joe's a few minutes later and knocked.
Hey, Shanice.
Look, I'm sorry about what happened before, but I need to speak to Mom.
She's not here. She left for the night.
What do you mean left for the night? Doesn't she live here? Isn't she your mother?
No, she's our maid. Your mom has worked with us for years.
Oh, do you know where she lives?
Sorry, I don't.
Okay, thanks anyway. I couldn't face Dad, and I had nowhere to go. I waited until all the lights were out at Joe's to curl up on the back porch swing. Luckily, there was a quilt draped over it, which I used to shield myself from the coldness of the night air. I jumped up and spattered. What are you doing on my back porch, you vagabond?
Hey, stop it! What are you doing?
Joe and Mom rushed out to the house to see what the commotion was about. Mom stepped in front of me.
Mrs. Lewis, please, this is my daughter.
Tell your daughter to get herself off my back porch.
Ma'am, just let me chat with her for a few minutes.
Chat quickly. You have work to do. Joe looked at me apologetically before he followed his mother into the house. Mom sat next to me. I apologized for my outburst yesterday. I told her I needed answers about why she left.
I walked in on your dad having an affair, Shanice. I was a housewife. I don't have a job, money, or anywhere to go. But I knew I couldn't stay with your father anymore. I left you because your father was able to take care of you when I couldn't. It's not that I wanted to, but I didn't have a choice. I hope you can forgive me.
I hugged Mom and told her that I forgave her. Debbie, these dishes won't wash themselves.
Duty calls,
Mom said, and I exchanged numbers and hugged her goodbye. When I got home, Dad hugged me.
Shanice, I was worried. I didn't mean what I said. I'm sorry you didn't think you could come home.
It's okay, Dad. I've got to get ready for school or I'll be late. I really wasn't in the mood for school, but I didn't want Dad to question me about where I was. At school, Joe and I decided to finish the project at my house. When Joe and I walked into the house, he greeted Gabby, but I walked past. Don't lock that door, Gabby called behind us as we walked towards my room. As soon as I entered my room, I closed the door and locked it.
You know there's something I wanted to do since the first time I saw you?
What's that? Joe cut my face gently and kissed me. I felt as though the butterflies in my stomach would lift me up and take me away. When we pulled away, I opened my eyes, and to my horror, Gabby stood there watching us. Without saying another word, she closed the door and left. That night at dinner, I waited to see if Gabby was going to tell Dad what she saw, but she didn't. When I caught Gabby alone, I thanked her for not telling Dad. Maybe you're not that bad after all. Over the next few weeks, Joe and I began spending more time together, which I enjoyed, especially the kissing part. Gabby went out of town for a few days, and I decided to invite Mom over. I told her it was okay with Dad, but of course I didn't tell Dad that Mom was coming. Around 8 p.m., Dad walked into the house.
Debbie, what are you doing here?
Mom looked at me. Look, Dad, I wanted company and Mom and I needed to catch up. Dad, come on, she's my mother. Dad passed his hands through his hair frustratedly.
Fine. I bet I can still beat you at poker.
Mom teased. Dad's competitive spirit flared up.
Oh, you wish.
That was the first time in a long time that I heard my dad laugh, and myself for that matter. Mom was good for us, even if Dad didn't realize it yet. By the time we were finished, it was midnight.
Well, I'd better be leaving.
Mom, you can't go home at this hour. We can share my bed. Dad nodded and told us goodnight before we headed to bed. Every night, Mom came over after work and we played games as a family. Then Mom would share my room. One night, I woke up and Mom wasn't there. I peeked in Dad's room and I gasped. Mom and Dad were sleeping on the bed. I quickly fetched my phone and snapped a few pictures. Next, I created a fake email address and sent the pictures to Gabby. Gabby was back home the following evening, and with the picture in hand, she demanded to know if the picture was fake or real. I smiled to myself as they argued. What, she thought Dad wouldn't cheat on her too? But the smile was soon wiped off my face when soldiers busted into our house in full tactical gear.
Major Dean, you are under arrest. What? What am I under arrest for? Did you or did you not visit your ex-wife today?
Dad looked at Gabby, then me.
Yes, I did, but what is that?
Brian!
You were the last person to see her alive.
Alive? What do you mean alive? My heart pounded as tears rolled down my cheeks.
Janice, this is a mistake. I'd never hurt your mother.
Gabby held me as they dragged Dad away.
Don't worry, Janice. There must be some mistake.
I fell asleep in Gabby's arms that night, but I woke up when I felt a pinch between my toes. Gabby stood at the foot of the bed with a tranquilizer in her hand and a sinister smile on her face. Hi, Janice. Still missing Mommy? I tried to move, but I was paralyzed. I guess now it's as good as any time to confess. You see, your dad was a jerk in high school, and he made my life miserable. For 4 years, he and his jerk friends called me Flabby Gabby. I ain't so flabby now, am I? My eyes drooped, and she sat next to me and leaned in.
I killed your mother.